What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another preview stream for you guys. We play Bournemouth at home, 3 o'clock kickoff tomorrow. And it's a game we have to win if we have any aspirations of making that top 4 this season. And you know what? Bournemouth, a few months ago, you would have said, you know, they're sleepwalking to relegation before the World Cup. They were dreadful, loss after loss after loss. It came back, nothing seemed to have changed. And then something just clicked with Bournemouth. They seem to be picking up some really good results. You know, a draw at Bournemouth, a draw at home to Newcastle, a win away at Wolves, a win at home to Liverpool, a win at home to Fulham, a win away at Leicester, which was very impressive last weekend. When you're talking about facing teams against each other within the drop, you know, that was a massive result for them last week, Bournemouth. So it ain't going to be an easy game, but we'll get into their form in a minute. But let's look at the head-to-head between the two clubs. Obviously, Spurs leading that quite strongly. 3 wins, a draw and a loss coming in the last 5 games. And it usually is a game that you're thinking that Spurs can take all 3 points or should take all 3 points. But I'm a bit less confident coming into it this weekend than maybe previous games against them.
Well, Well, that probably says more about Spurs than it does about Bournemouth. As much as Bournemouth are playing well right now, they've won 4 out of their last 8 for a team in the relegation scrap, and for a team that before January won a terrible run. They had like 5 consecutive losses and looked like they were doomed for the drop. And since January, they made a few signings, to be fair to them. They've done really well in the transfer market. They got some players like Traore, Utara through the door. They did sign a centre-back from Ukraine, but he hasn't featured much. They found a new role for Philip Billing, and they've really got Solanke playing at his best at the moment. So I think they've found a system that seems to be working for them at the moment. They seem to be getting a lot of joy. They've kind of combined their compact organisation with a real threat on the counter-attack, which maybe they didn't have a couple months ago before the signings. So they've recruited well. Gary O'Neill has made sure that everyone is doing the hard work. They're never easy to play against, this Bournemouth side, and I think we know that a team like Spurs, that when we come against teams who are hard-working and don't leave anything on the pitch, sometimes we can get outworked, we can get outfought, we can struggle. Less so at home than away from home, but it can happen at home for sure. And Bournemouth definitely will be giving us a bit of the... will be giving us the ball. We'll be asked to break them down. But on the flip side, they have conceded the most goals in the Premier League. They've conceded 57 goals. Their back line, quality-wise, is extremely suspect. I think Gary O'Neill, you know, they've kept clean sheets against the likes of Liverpool at home and stuff like that. They can put in a good defensive display, but they're not the best quality-wise defenders. These are championship-level defenders. Yeah. So that is, you've got to look at that backline thing. We can definitely take the game to them, and we can definitely get them, be able to open them up. But you have to say that they've been impressive recently, and even games where they've lost, like 3-2 against Arsenal, 2-0 up for a lot of that game, and had chances to extend it, and end up succumbing in the end, probably deservedly so. But if they're 2-0 up against us, do I back us to turn it around? Probably not right now.
Well, we did that earlier on the season, didn't we?
That's true, we did, yeah.
You're talking about how hard it is to play Bournemouth, and we found that out firsthand, didn't we? When we went there just before the World Cup, I think it was. Or was it just before or just after? I think it was just before.
It was before.
And we go 2-0 down, and we needed a late comeback from Bentancur. Got the goals in the last minute. I think, what was it? Ben Davis and Bentancur scoring those days. Both of those players out injured for us this week, though.
And Sessegnon. He also scored. Yeah,
Sessegnon as well.
Also injured. So it's not going to be an easy game, but I do think their defence is really suspect. And to be fair, Kane's is still in good form. Son obviously scored a great goal last week. So hopefully the forward line, and I still think Porro is, contributing down the right-hand side as well going forward. He should have a bit more joy going forward this time than last week.
This is a game where Porro can really thrive in my opinion.
So I think we should have enough going forward. It's more about don't do stupid things at the back where it allows them to get into the game. Don't give them a lead or concede any stupid goals. And I think we should have enough to score at least a couple of goals in this game.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because we're not going into this super confident, where we probably should be when you're looking at the home form of Spurs. We're got results consistently at home now in the recent past. You're looking at Bournemouth. Yes, they've got 2 wins in their last 5 away games, but you're looking at where those wins came on. They came at Wolves and they came at Leicester. Whenever they've been asked to come up against teams maybe in the top 6 race, they've lost. They've lost to Newcastle away, they lost to Chelsea away, they lost to Man U away, they lost to Brentford away, they lost to Brighton away, they lost to Arsenal, and they lost to Villa. So, I mean, when you're looking at that, surely that's got to fill you with confidence that we got to take that 3 points this weekend.
I mean, I am confident we're going to win, to be honest. I do think we're going to win on Saturday. And it's not just because of the home form. I think it's more just to do with the quality of Bournemouth, I think, can be overcome with our quality. But I know it's mostly been in away games, but we've seen in the last 3 games, that we're brittle. We can easily pushed over when the going gets tough. We struggle to see out games. And
to be honest, Brighton was probably going to be another one like that if the referee decision went the right way.
Exactly, and you had Southampton and Everton in there who are not playing as well as Bournemouth probably are right now, and they were able to get points of us. So that is something to be wary of. But I do think being at home and being in front of the home crowd does make a difference. I do think that should see us over the line and hopefully give the team the confidence to get the win and get a few goals as well. But you just have to be wary that this Bournemouth team are compact. They're pretty good on the counter. They have, I think, for me, it's more the way they've got Billing and Solanke playing together now. That is a big danger. But going the other way, their backline could easily be got at. So I am confident that with Kane, Son and Kulusevski or whoever's fit, maybe Richarlison, whoever plays up front, I am confident we're gonna take the game to them and create chances in this game.
Yeah, talking of Richarlison and also Danjuma, to be fair, I mean, surely there's got to be shouts for both of them, if not at least one of them, to start the game tomorrow. I mean, Kulusevski not really playing well at the moment. Sonny, he's drifting in and out of form. Harry Kane obviously deserves a starting berth, but Danjuma absolutely chomping at the bit to play against his former club again as well this weekend. And Richarlison, was doing well for us in games that we were winning before he got injured.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, and if he's fully fit, I would seriously consider putting him back in. It was interesting to see Stellini in the last game putting Sonny on the right-hand side and Danjuma on the left. That is something I would seriously consider if going into this game, because Son, I believe, can play on the right. We don't utilise him maybe as much as we should in that position, and I think Danjuma and Richarlison both more comfortable on the left-hand side. So I would consider doing that. Although what I would say is in this game, I kind of want Kulusevski there, because if they're going to be kind of compact and they're going to be sitting back, I want someone who's more likely to open them up in those when there's restricted space, and that is Kulusevski. So as much as he's not on the best form, this might be a better game for him than someone like Danjuma or Richarlison. But if they are ready to come in, and we really believe Kulusevski's that out of form, then I'm more than happy to see them come in and play on the left-hand side. But I think in this game I would just persist with Kulusevski for another game.
Fair enough. Let's bring up the opposition lineup, which we think it's going to be. This was the same lineup that they played in their 1-0 win against Leicester. So Neto in goal, who's been fairly impressive this season, to be honest. A back four who, little to be left desired, to be honest, with Smith, Stevens, Mepham and Kelly. I think their midfield is an interesting one with Rothwell and Lerma. I mean, whenever Lerma's playing, you're in for a battle, isn't it?
Definitely, and he is usually a walking card, but he's a hard-working player. Obviously, he's played at a high-level World Cups and things like that, and he's usually been pretty good at that level as well. And I think for Bournemouth, he's been there for a while now, and he's a tough operator. I don't think technically he's the best player, although he can sometimes he can an absolute banger out of nowhere occasionally. But I don't think technically he's the best player, but definitely off the ball, you'll be pushed to find a harder working player than someone like Lerma. Yeah,
and then obviously Christie and Utara on the wings. What do you make out of Utara?
I like him. He's a bit raw, but he's actually a good dribbler. He's got really good pace, and he's a really hard-working winger as well. And when he gets into the final third, a few times he can make some good decisions. He's got a good final ball. He's not the best shooter, but he's good at with good cutbacks, crosses across the face of goal, things like that. And he does the hard yards, which I think is why Gary O'Neill really likes him. And against Liverpool, I remember watching them, and he gave I think it was Robertson. He gave him a torrid time down that right-hand side, and he got an assist for Billings' goal, and they ended up winning the game 1-0. And he's come in, and he's been pretty good for Bournemouth, to be honest. He's got a few assists. He's really helped the team, and I think they needed someone like him, his quality on the wings, because I felt like earlier the part of the season, they just didn't have that counter-attacking threat that they do now. But now with, I think, Traore, I don't know if he started last game, but Traore and Utara, and also Tavernier coming back from injury, they definitely seem to have that counter-attacking threat more now.
Are you worried about those matchups on the pitch, potentially Utara against Porro or Christie against Perisic?
Not as much as I was last week.
Yeah.
So last week I was really worried. This week... I am a bit worried, but I don't think it's as much of a problem as it would have been last week. And I think they should be more worried about Porro and Perisic going forward than we should be about Otara and Christie on the wings. I really believe that if they're not tracking Porro back, their defence is lacking so much that we can really open up at will. Whereas Utara and Christie, they might get in a couple of times, but it's not one of those where, it's not like Matoma, where if he gets in, you're in big trouble. I just think we can handle those situations a bit better than this week. So I think they're going to be doing a lot of defending this week. So it's not something I'm that worried about.
Okay, let's move on to the star men, the ones to watch for Bournemouth, and that is Billing and Solanke. I mean, we touched on them before, but Billing especially has been one that's really impressed me of late. I mean, getting goals, only one assist to his name, but he really is, one of the big reasons why they're pulling themselves away a little bit at the moment.
Yeah, he's been super impressive. He's like, they've kind of got him in this like Marouane Fellaini role, in behind the striker. He's got a bit more pace than Fellaini. He's a bit more technically proficient than Fellaini as well. Although I do think Fellaini was a bit more physical, a bit more aerially dominant. But you have to say that Billing is doing a great job. And since they moved him into this role of kind of a free role, allowed to go forward, allowed to attack, he's got a really sweet left foot as well. And he's really thrived in that role recently. He kind of does this really good thing. He arrives late in the box. He's got a really good strike on him from the edge of the area as well. He's very good in the air because he's quite tall, so he's quite physical. You can knock long balls into his chest, and he can bring it down as well. He's one who's really come into his own of late, and I got to give him so much credit because he's one of those players who's kind of, he was at Huddersfield and they got relegated. Then he was at Bournemouth and they went down and come back up. So he's kind of been up and down a bit. But he's always been quite a good player. But he's always been a player considered, he's quite similar to like Tom Huddleston in a way, Philip Billing.
Without those techers.
Maybe he's not as two-footed as Tom Huddleston potentially. But he's always been like seen as a centre mid, someone who can play quite deep and dictate play that way. But this role for him seems to be working right now, and it seems to allow him to be able to get more goal contributions. And I do think defensively, as much as he's a strong player, he's not like the best defensively, I feel. So I think maybe this role suits him a lot more than maybe being that double pivot role he's been playing a lot of his career.
Yeah, it's interesting because he's definitely come into his own of late, that's for sure. And Dominic Solanke, he's an interesting one, isn't he? Because he's been in and out of the Premier League. I mean, the list of clubs he's been to, you're talking about the likes of Chelsea, Liverpool, big clubs that he's been to, and he's scored hatful of goals in the Championship and never really seemed to have done it in the Premier League. And the season started off like that, was just getting one goal here, one goal there, and a goal contribution here or there, and not really having any real consistency even in his gameplay. But of late, that seems to have changed. I mean, maybe he's not getting the goals consistently, but he's contributing. It
was interesting because apparently Gary O'Neill told him that he needs to be more selfish in front of goal. He needs to shoot more. He needs to make sure he's manoeuvring positions to get attempts on goal, when maybe beforehand he was more interested in being a link up striker and bringing other players into play and trying to do a job for the team. And since O'Neill said that, he's really been a lot more of a threat. He's all of a sudden starting to bully centre defenders. He's definitely getting shots off from more angles. I noticed that last week. I can't remember what game they played. Not Leicester, sorry. The week before that, they played Brighton at home. Even though they lost, he was, whenever he got the opportunity to shoot, he took it, and he was getting them on target more often than not. Even if it was a tight angle, an angle where you thought it would be difficult to get it on target, he was. And it shows, I think, he's got quite decent striking ability, and he needs to use that more, because he's shown in the Championship he can be a very good finisher if given the opportunities. And in the Premier League recently, I agree, he hasn't quite done it, but he is showing signs that he could be good at this level if he decides to have take it upon himself to shoot more and get in those areas a bit more, rather than focusing on just being a team player all the time. And recently, I've been super impressed with his ability to hold defenders off, his ability to get shots in on goal, and he's linking up really well with Philip Billing at the moment. So we need to make sure we're restricting that access to Solanke, because they can go very direct to him, and that can hurt you, and it's shown over the last few weeks. He's been getting a lot of joy. So I think Solanke is an underrated striker, in my opinion, actually, and I just think he's playing in teams at the moment in the Premier League always struggling, and he never kind of gets to play in teams who like to dominate possession. He gets lots of chances for, and that's led to his lack of goals. But I think he is starting to show recently that maybe he does belong in this level. But with only 4 goals, obviously people still say, I want to see more before they take a gamble on him or sign him or whatever. But I do think he could be a 10-plus goal a season striker in the Premier League.
Really? You think that many? Wow. All right, well, what is your score prediction?
I'm going for 3-1 Spurs.
3-1.
I think, I think that with our attacking talent, I think Bournemouth, their defence is just, as much as they can be well organised, I think quality-wise, individually, they're not so strong. And I think we can win our individual battles. We're going to stretch the play as well, with Porro and Perisic being very far wide. Hopefully that either leads to space for them or space inside for Son, Kulusevski and Kane. Either way, I see us punishing them. Are we going to be settled to the counter-attack? Probably, with Utara and Christie. But what I'm banking on the fact is they won't be able to get into those counter-attacking positions as much as maybe other teams will, who are better in possession than Bournemouth. And when we do go forward, I really believe we're going to make our attacking quality count. But I do see Bournemouth getting goal from a set piece or a counter-attack, and our defence is still brittle, so I don't think a clean sheet. But I see us getting 3 goals, so 3-1.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I just can't see us getting 3 goals. I think it's going to be a really difficult game. I think whoever Bournemouth come up against, they're finding it difficult right now. Even Arsenal of late, came up against Bournemouth and struggled. So I think we are going to struggle in the game, but I do think we'll just about get over the line. Maybe need a bit of help from the referees again, but we need all the help that we can get at the moment. So I'm going to go for Spurs just to get over the line and win the game by 2-1. And I'm hoping to see one of Richarlison or Dan Juma start the game, but we'll hear from Stellini very soon on the injury updates in the squad. But that is our match preview for the game. It's now time for you guys to have your say. The link is in the community section right now if you want to come on for a call in. Just before we do, we've got a members chat, member for 14 months, to Barry, and he says, big up everyone, looking forward to being there with Ben tomorrow. 3 points are a must. Come on you Spurs, please, 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 let's get the job done. I'm looking forward to spending the watch along with you as well, Barry, and we'll see you tomorrow, my friend.
And also it's important to note, obviously we play before Man United, who play on the Sunday, and we need to really put pressure on them in this top 4 now, because they got really bad injuries racking up. Rashford out for a few weeks. We know Martinez and Varane both went off injured, not looking great. Yesterday Varane went off for half time. So they go away to Nottingham Forest side, who are pretty good when it comes to their home form. And if we can win and United drop points, all of a sudden, with United to come to the Tottenham Stadium, it does open up a lot more than it definitely opens up. So we have to win. We have to win tomorrow, and if we win, I think that really does put a lot of pressure on Man United. Obviously, Newcastle go away at Villa, but they're playing before us, so they could even open up a 6-point gap before we even play. So we'll have to wait and see. But it's very important we start to put pressure on this United side, because they kind of crashed a bit yesterday in the last 2 minutes, conceding 2 goals, and without Rashford to keep bailing them out right now, it could become a very difficult end to the season for them.
The problem I have with it is that Rashford comes back for the run-in, right, of the season this year.
We don't know.
I thought that's what they said.
He doesn't. They don't know.
Okay, let's say if he comes back for the run-in back end of the season, I fear that Man United come on strong last 5 games of the season, and that's when we'll lose it. But we might be in a fight until then.
Maybe
that's the difficult thing. But anyway, look, let's get everyone's opinions on the top 4 race on the game this weekend, and let's start off with Ash Matic.
Yo, my people, what's going on?
Yes, Ash Matic, how are you doing, my brother?
Yeah, man, I'm all right, bro. I'm all right. I'm alive. How are you guys?
That's the main thing. Yeah, we're alive as well, alive and kicking. But look, talk to me, is the top 4 race on, especially with the Man United news that are coming out last night? They bottled it in the Europa League. A lot of injuries coming their way as well. How are you feeling about it all?
It's like the doors just gone like this.
Yeah.
That's all that's happened. Don't get gas, Spurs fans. Don't do it to yourselves. Please don't do it to yourselves. Me, all right, I'm trying to be positive. I don't want to
but me, I'm gassed.
I'm not trying to be up to doom out here, but it's just the performances. It's very hard to kind of get past that, in my opinion. It's very hard to look past how we're playing on the pitch. Now, obviously, things have quieted down a little bit after the Scott Munner announcement. There hasn't been too much after that. We've been linked with a few managers and Vincent Company and all that. But apart from that, it hasn't been too much noise, which I like. I prefer it when we're quiet, when not too much is going on, and we just focus on our football. We've had a whole week to prepare, to look at Bournemouth, to rest players, and hopefully that will pay dividends come Saturday. Do Tottenham have enough to pip Man United or even Newcastle for a top 4 race? It's very difficult for me because we have to get points away. I think it's when we're away I get nervous. Newcastle, Aston Villa, and Liverpool. Those are the 3 games where I'm not sure whether we can get 3 points or 9 points between those games. Those are games I'm looking at. And then even the home games, I'm not super confident just because of our performances. That's my opinion. I don't think we'll make top 4 personally. This is my personal opinion. It's different from last season. Last season we had the momentum.
But Ash, didn't momentum last season only start growing at around this point?
Yes, you're right, but the games we had are slightly different. We had a manager as well. We don't have a manager at the moment. And it's just whether or not Stellini is enough to motivate, and Mason's enough to motivate those players. Is it enough of a change? Because the players were moaning that it's too same old, but you still got Stellini delivering pretty much the same sessions. I'm assuming. So I don't know, man. I'll try to be optimistic, but it's just not looking. It's not looking good, bro. It's not looking good.
So do you think it's a case of like Man United will leave the door open, but will we be able to walk through it, kind of thing? Or do you think United are still going to end the season strong?
You know what it is, Sim? It's that pressure. I don't like to put the pressure on the boys. As soon as you put pressure on them, you hear that Conte in the back of your ear. They don't have the fire in the eyes. They don't have pressure. They don't like it. So it's just like, that starts to worry in my head. Like, we start to become the bottlers again. When there's no pressure and there's less expectation, that's when Spurs turn up for some reason. So as much as Man United, got injuries with Rashford, they've got injuries with Martinez, big injury there. They've only got their midfielders coming back now. Their defensive midfielders coming back now. So it's hard. This is Man United at the end of the day. And when it comes to Tottenham versus Man United as well, they just tend to turn up against us. It's so annoying. They just turn up. Why, Man U? Why? just relax, innit? Just allow us for one season and be dead. Come on. But every season, Man United they just go up a level. I don't get it. Like it's so frustrating. But yeah, man. I'm optimistic for tomorrow. If that helps.
Yeah.
That helps.
We know Bournemouth got some good results recently. Beat Liverpool. They were 2-0 up against Arsenal until late on. They've beaten Leicester. They've beaten Wolves away from home as well. So is it a case of maybe we could underestimate them going into tomorrow, or do you look at the fact that they've conceded the most goals in the Premier League and they're near the bottom as a case for like we should have this game in the bag?
They got young players. That's what worries me, because the young players, they just get up for it, especially when they see this game as a bonus game, I feel, because the next 2 or 3 games are more crucial to them. They got teams on their level playing field if you look at their next 2 or 3 games. I can't remember who it is exactly, but I looked it up and I thought maybe they're looking at those games where they get their 3 or 6 points. Do you know what I mean? Compared to being at Tottenham, they said, if they get a point from here, they'll be happy with it. Do you know what I mean? So I'm hoping, with that being said, they're a bit more freer and they're able to experiment and come at us a little bit more. And I feel like if they come at us and they try to push the boat, that's going to play into our hands a lot more. And we're going to have our front free with a lot more space to run into. When I was looking at the Brighton game, as bad as it was, when I look at the goal, especially the second one in isolation, we started pressing. We started pressing Brighton, and it forced their keeper to go long. Now, my tactic is that we force mistakes in the middle of the pitch. That's where we win the ball. I saw Højbjerg play a lot more further forward in the second half. And I personally believe that's where he should be utilized a lot more. You see it there when he plays for Denmark. He plays in that front middle. He plays in the free, and he plays a bit more advanced. I would like to see Højbjerg a lot more front-footed. When he's a bit more front-footed, he was able to put pressure on their midfield. That forced an error because Perisic then, which I thought was interested, he came in field a lot more, which kind of thickens up the midfield, because a problem with Spurs for a long time is that we get overrun in that midfield with a double pivot. But with Perisic tucking in a bit and adding pressure, that again forced the mistake, made them go back. And then Danjuma was able to, with his energy and his legs, to again press on again and make the mistake. And then when they played it back again, they had to go long. When they went long for the next time, that's when you saw Romero in the wide area press, and then he forced the mistake. He actually intercepted the ball. He was able to give it to one of our team players. Then Højbjerg got the ball. Højbjerg's then, so he gave it to Son, then Son gave it to Højbjerg. Højbjerg was then able to do a quick check over the shoulder and then find Kane, who was on the edge of the box, and we end up scoring a goal. So my thing is that midfield press, Perisic coming in a little bit more, a bit like what Emerson used to do. You used to see Emerson come inside a lot more and then, create that midfield free. Because I expect that Tottenham are still going to line up in a 3-4-3. The only change I expect to see is probably Richarlison come in. I think Richarlison will come in for Kulusevski. Whether he plays on the right or left, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Do you think that will happen? Yeah, Stellini has confirmed that Richarlison's the only player back from injury going into tomorrow. Do you think he will go with him, or do you think the fact he's only come back from injury, maybe he'll still stick with Kulusevski?
I thought he was on the bench against Brighton.
Oh, he was. You're right. He was on the bench last week. You are right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the only reason, because he never got played for the whole of the game against Brighton. I thought, and he gave Danjuma the run out. I just thought that might give him the minutes for this game coming in. So I thought possibly he might start him, because Tottenham's problem at the moment is we all know the team's going to just stay the same. It's always going to be the same starting 11. And you don't give any, when a player knows they're starting every time, I think it becomes a bit of a problem. They become complacent. So I thought, and the type of character that Richarlison is, he had a go at Conte for not starting him, and he was upset and he spoke out a bit. And then the next game he was playing, do you know what I mean? So I wonder if Stellini has that in the back of his mind, and he thinks that maybe Richarlison maybe starts because Kulu wasn't playing. he didn't really have his best game against Brighton. Albeit, I think on the ball, I think Richarlison 1v1 situations against a Bournemouth defence, I think he could cause real trouble, especially out wide. I know he came in a lot against Brighton. He came in field a lot and created that 3-5-2 a lot in that attacking midfielder position. He's been asked to do that quite a bit, and it hasn't really paid dividends. But I think Richarlison may start. And also, what Richarlison, obviously, he hasn't scored many goals for Spurs, which has been very disappointing, despite spending that 50 million outlay with the 10 million add-ons. I just feel like with Richarlison off the ball, he brings a lot of energy. He actually helps the defenders out a lot. So that kind of attacking midfielder role that Richarlison plays is actually more suited to him. And I just hope that if he does start, and I'm not saying I want Richarlison to start, but I just think this is how it's going to go. If Richarlison was to start, I would like between him and Sonny to interchange, whether Sonny goes out to the right and Richarlison goes to the left and vice versa, and they swap over. But also, I'd like to see Perisic come in midfield a lot more and sometimes bomb forward and start to press a little bit higher up, and Højbjerg to push on a bit more. And just, I'm not saying we push all the way up the pitch and do a high press, but I'm saying it looked better when we started doing that mid press and we started playing a bit direct. Tottenham like to play direct, but when we're further up the pitch, we tend to make less mistakes because sometimes we rush it when we're too deep to kind of make those quick turnovers, those quick transitions, and that's when we lose the ball. Or you might see one of our front three running with the ball and their decision-making is not that fast, and then we spend too long on the ball and then we end up doing the wrong pass and the counter-attack ends up breaking down a lot of the time and it comes to nothing. That's what I've seen this season anyway. So I'm just hoping at times we do like a mid-press, and I think at time as well, just to give confidence to the lads, because I feel like Son this season is not confident. I feel like Kulusevski is not very confident this season. The only person that's confident at the moment is Kane. He's kind of bulletproof. He's all bulletproof to the whole situation. But I feel like sometimes, and I know we can do it, we don't do it, but I feel we can play a little bit of possession football in periods. So certain times against the Bournemouth team, I think we can hold on to the ball a bit. Don't just rush it and try to do the quick transition all the time and then lose the ball. And then guess what? They have the ball. And then all of a sudden, it's in our nature to kind of drop off and try to hold our shape. And then the midfield two sit back. And then it becomes, we invite that pressure on again. And then we try to win the ball back. We try to do the quick turnover. And then we lose the ball. Like, it just happens every game. So I'll be happier if in periods we did have the ball and we made them work for the ball a bit. Do you know what I mean? And they did say, Stellini did talk about, there was things that you want to try out. I know the full score doesn't fit, but, I would love it if they did try a few things. You saw in the second half, he tweaked a few things. So I'm just wondering if he's looked at that and he might bring that into this game and try a few more things and see if we're a bit more positive in that aspect. But looking at what Dan Juma did in isolation, and I'm just thinking about the energy of Spurs, because it's the energy of Spurs that drops off in games. That's what costs us games sometimes. And we allow teams in. We've been criticized from a lot of pundits. Even Roy Keane came out and he was brushing, man. He was like, bro, what's wrong with Spurs? Why do they play so negative? Like, I don't get it. Like, and not just him. I've heard other, like Dan Ambrose, I've heard him say it. I've heard other players just, O'Hara's and those guys there, was talking about Spurs, how we're so negative. Why are we so negative? And they've got so much attacking players. And another thing as well is, like, before I go back onto that Dan Juma point, we don't utilize our subs as much. I mean, talking about in the season as a whole, we've had chances. We've got 5 subs and we're not utilizing them. I've seen teams just throw players on and Spurs aren't doing anything. And then no wonder we lose in games, because the energy is just not there. Do you understand? The tactical, a player might have a bit more energy, a bit more legs. I'm thinking, like, there's times when we can go to a 5-2-3, do you know what I mean, formation, not 5-2-3, sorry, a 5-3-2 formation. And maybe if Højbjerg isn't really pushing up the pitch as much, or Skip isn't pushing up the pitch as much, you bring a Sar in just to thicken it up, just to switch it up a little bit, and say to the front two, go do your thing. Do you know what I mean? Let's hold on to the ball. But yeah, going back to the Dan Juma point, last bit, sorry guys. Just his energy, his legs, he's like road runner, like that. That's what I want to see. Just that he doesn't necessarily have to be super dangerous on the ball, but just the intent. Because that, guess what? That just spreads onto the other players. And then once you've got Dan Juma starting the press, like, you know what I'm saying? Kane's not as vigorous, but if he's starting the press, I don't mind Kane dropping into that midfield and then finding them, because that's what he was doing. Before that goal happened, Kane's dropping in that hole, getting on the ball, and he's the only person that if he gets on the ball, he doesn't lose it generally. I mean, in general, like, it's very hard to kind of knock him off the ball. He just tends to get that ball, shield it very well, and then he finds that player that's further forward. And that's when we can commit maybe two or three or four players a bit further forward. And I think when Romero is front-footed and he pushes high up the pitch, I think that's when we can start to kind of hurt teams, because he's the one that's going to win the ball. He will either carry it or he will find a player or pass it forward or do an intelligent pass, and we can hurt teams that way. Do you know what I mean? But when Romero is playing in the free and he's a bit negative and he's further back, you don't get to see the best of our defense. Even when it comes to Eric Dyer, dare I say it, when Dyer's a bit more dynamic, it's not the right word for him, but when he's a bit further forward, he can switch the ball. He can start our attacks. Do you know what I mean? He can carry the ball a little bit. And equally, Longley can get in that half space and he can switch the balls like around. And that's what we need. But in terms of the danger of Bournemouth, Billen is on fire. Oh, my days. All physical, box to box. He plays so close to the striker, Solanke. He gets up and down. He's got a shot on him. Like, he is a danger man. And I just wouldn't mind sticking someone on him, if I'm being honest. And certain times, early in the game.
Who'd you stick on Billing?
I wouldn't mind like this. I wouldn't say stick on him, but I just wouldn't mind Romero just crashing on him a couple of times. Just bang, 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 early in the game. Let man know you're there. Doom, 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 doom. Do you know what I mean? But if someone had to stick on him, I wouldn't mind like a skip, just staying on him. Do you know what I mean? Just to calm him down a bit. But I just want him to be like, shepherd a bit. Do you know what I mean? I think he's their best player. Solanke is not bad. And both of them have got height. Do you know what I mean? So I do worry about set pieces on corners, etc. Because we do go to sleep. Their midfielder, their number 8. What's his name? Something. I can't remember his name. Black brother. Anyway, the number 8. He plays the deepest, but
Lama.
Lama. Yeah, that's it. So him, I think he's not bad. I think he's all right. He's all right. He gets forward. End product could be worked on. But again, very youthful, very up and down the pitch, helps the attack as well. Christie's not bad either, but they've got that guy on the bench, Traore. He came off the bench last game. He looked decent. And then they've got the, what's his name? Tavern? I can't remember his name. Tavernier, that's it. Tavernier, yeah. His left foot, whee! I think it was against Fulham. He scored a banger.
Mm-hmm.
Blood fire. Trust me, left foot rocking. Madness. But yeah, like literally, they've got a few players. But overall, I wouldn't really worry about Bournemouth like that. I think Spurs can afford to kind of push up the pitch a bit in this game, especially. I know against Brighton, they had a few, Brighton was a different situation. But I go for a match prediction of a 2-0. But it just depends on how quick we start and periods of the game, how we manage it, and what Stellini sees, if he can manage it quick, and if we can use our subs wisely. Do you know what I mean? Don't wait till the 75th minute to start panicking and switching it up, man. Start doing it early, because that's when we start to suffer. We start to fall off about 60 or 65 minutes. We start to dwindle a bit. So I will get those subs out from early, start moving it. But we've got a good team. We've got good players on the bench. So I don't want when we don't use the Danjumas and the and your SARS, you get me? Because they've got legs, they got pace, they got energy, and that's what Spurs lack. And they're all young. All the players I'm talking about, we've got a young bench, and we should not be getting outrun by any team. We shouldn't be getting outmuscled by any team, because we are physical enough, we're fast enough, but we're just not utilizing it enough. And that's it, really. That's what I think.
What's your prediction then, Ash?
2-0 Spurs.
Clean sheet, yeah? Clean sheet.
I'm going to be positive. Yeah, clean sheet. I'm going to be positive.
All right, big up, Ash. Thanks for coming on today, my friend.
My guy.
And we shall see you next time.
Love. Come on,
See
Spurs.
you, Ash.
Always. Big up Spurs.
Always.
Come on. Let's keep going.
Oh,
Say again? Okay. It looks like we don't have any other guests, but I just wanted to mention about a chap called Pete Brown, was known as Brownie. Unfortunately, it's a tragic situation where he had a fatal heart attack in the Gilpin at the pub around Spurs just before the Nottingham Forest game. Home and away fan, lifetime fan, and they're trying to get a 61-minute applause for him in the stadium against Bournemouth. So if you are going, please do make it happen. 61-minute clap for Pete Brown. So please do that, because his family are trying to get that off the ground, and obviously
and they're going to be at the game.
People, yeah, and they'll be at the game. So he had a lot of people, a lot of friends at Spurs. So hopefully they can get that going. But I just wanted to make that known, and we do have our last caller of the day, or we do have a caller, and he goes by the name. I think you guys know who it's going to be.
Who else?
Who else could it be at this time of the day? KPV, everyone.
Hello.
You all right, Carl?
Yeah, just still shocked from last week.
What happened last week?
You know what happened last week, Sam? Paul Cattermole, remember?
I see.
Yeah, I'm still shocked. So I tagged you two on Instagram and I've done a poem, so check it out afterwards.
I will.
We'll do. We'll do. How
Yeah.
are you feeling, though? How are you feeling about the game?
Not really confident, as you two may have heard of the weekend. The comment of the weekend goes to KPV, like giving up making predictions in the Premier League this season. So I'm going to take the Gary Lineker route, and I've given up making predictions, as you heard. So
So
do
what's
you
your
not ask?
prediction then?
I'm not telling you because I've given up. Like, I'm taking the Gary Lineker route, like I said. But
But if you
yeah,
had to make a prediction, what would it be?
well, we're at home, so 5-0. Because yeah, you know Kane loves a goal against Bournemouth, and Sonaldo. So Kane's on 206 in the Premier League. But if he scores at the weekend, that'll be 107. But I want him to score 5, so he'll go ahead of Wayne Rooney in the Premier League.
You catch up
So,
with Haaland if he scores 5.
well, how many's he got? 28 or 30?
30 now, I think.
Oh, so Kane will have 24, 25, 26, 27. So 27, I hear. But yeah, I want Kane to catch Haaland because Haaland's going to break Salah's record anyway. He's good. And I hear you two jabronis have picked your star men, Kane and Haaland. I know Ben Haaland, Sim Kane, but so it's going to be a tight battle between you two. So enjoy while you can.
Who do you think's going to come out on top?
Benji, easy. Ben for the win.
As always.
Well, you think you're not backing Kane?
Obviously I've got Kane in my team. I've got Kane, so obviously I want Kane to score. But Ben's still beating you, Sim. I know you won it last season and Ben won it the season before. So Ben's going to get 2 for
You heard
2
that,
years.
Sim? Ben's going to get 2.
Yeah, you wait. I'm going to be ahead on this weekend.
KPV said it. He said it.
I'm getting 50 points this weekend.
You ain't getting that, brother. I can assure you, bro. You ain't getting 50, mate. Ben's getting more than you.
KPV, with the what's going on with Man United at the moment, injuries building up. Do you have any more hope that Spurs are going to get top 4?
Yeah, I want us to get top 4, but
No,
like,
I know you want it, but are we going to do it?
of course, you heard me say it 3 seasons ago when Liverpool won league that we was, but we didn't, unfortunately. And then we didn't do it the next season under Mourinho. So 2 times I got it wrong, but we done it under Conte when we signed Kulusevski and Rodrigo Benteke's. Like, those 2 helped us get it. So why can't we? And I've got a bone to pick with you two. You predicted us. You predicted us losing at Newcastle and Liverpool. Well, sorry boys, but our record at Newcastle is actually good. 4 wins and only 1 draw. So change that immediately, boys. The draw at Anfield, not bad last year. Should have won there. We done the double over Newcastle last season, so they've beaten us at home, so they've got second win. But we've got Bournemouth and then Newcastle next week, is it?
Yeah.
So I expect to win. You know, Kane loves scoring against them. Son done it last season, and the defence managed to go on the score sheet, but one of them isn't there anymore, and that is Doherty. So I expect us to win there, but we need them to draw tomorrow with Villa. And we need a draw out of those two tomorrow to draw with each other, and hopefully we can go third. I know Man United are playing, I believe, tomorrow as well, so need them to lose at least. And so Rashford out, he could miss the Spurs game, I already heard. So he's out. So at home against United, let's smash them because they always seem to beat us when they come to the new stadium. But we only drew when Bergwijn scored, so a win would be nice. So yeah, let's hope for the win tomorrow, Spurs, and on to Newcastle win. So
All right.
the next few games are important, and I want top 4, and we can do it. Believe people, I'm off, so I'll speak to you all tomorrow. And as always, Levy out, Daigle in. You heard it here. And pick up Barry, I know you're watching. So you're next.
What's your message to Barry, Carl? You got to say something to him. If he's calling you out, what are you saying to him?
Well, Barry, I know what you're going to say. You think I blocked you? That's a lie.
He was just busy, Barry. He didn't block you. He was just busy.
Yeah, because I'm always busy. But yeah, and so I'm going to be busy today because I've got food shopping to do. So, and my thing's not working still anyway, Sky. So I can't watch football. And the good news is Chelsea lost, and yeah, Man U drew. So yeah, good luck, boys.
Exactly. Nice
I'll
one, Carl.
See you later, KPV. See you later, mate.
I'll see you at the Brentford game like I did last year. So another picture and a pint of beer. I'll see you then. And
See you later,
come on, you Spurs. Later, boys.
And that was KPV, the whirlwind that is KPV. Let's bring on our next guest, and he goes by the name of Barry.
Hello, boys. You right?
Barry,
Nice to see you,
shots
Barry.
have been fired, my friend.
Carl's off to do his food shopping. What you got to say?
Well, you better go and unblock all the other people that he's blocked. Not just me. There's a number of people that KPV's been on a blocking spree.
He's just really busy. He's just really, really busy.
Yeah, he's really busy. He's like, right, block him. Yeah, block that person, block them all. So, yeah.
Block them all. Block them all. So anyway, Barry, with the news coming out of Man United, with all the injuries clocking up there, Rashford out, Varane out, big players out for United, do you think that widens the door for us in the top 4 race?
Look, it's really difficult. I think, look, you know me, I'm always trying to be positive, but I think you never can tell with this football team. Look, Varane's out, Luke Shaw's out, Rashford's out, Martinez is out. Obviously, like I said earlier, there's a few Man U fans that I've been speaking to, and they're worried about. They were worried about this part of the season. A lot of games that have come thick and fast. And then obviously they've got the injuries now, and obviously Bruno's suspended for the second leg. So look, you don't know. Never say never. It's still possible. Anything's still possible. And I think with Spurs, after what we've seen this whole season, you're going to be surprised if you could predict what's going to happen. I still think it'll, in a couple of weeks when it's Newcastle, Man United, and Liverpool, I think that will be the true test of where we're going to kind of finish up. But again, you never know. You never know. Brighton, we thought we were all going to get beaten and then we didn't. Obviously, daylight robbery. Normally people wear masks when they get robbed, but obviously we wore 11 white shirts. So
yeah, we had a bit of a helping hand in that game as well by the ref, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. But look, it's you can kind of sit there, swings and roundabouts. It's happened to us. But obviously, look, if it'd been the other way around, we'd have obviously been in meltdown. So look, it should be swings and roundabouts. Hopefully, there's not going to be any decisions, let's say, like the Southampton penalty that kind of goes against us because of what's happened last week. And look, Bournemouth, I think we should all be looking at, an easy 3 points, an easy home win, but these will be the results that we probably go and slip up. And, I'm with you, Ben. I think it's going to be a nervy game, especially if nothing happens the first 20, 25 minutes. The crowd's going to get on the players' backs, and it's going to be interesting. But look, never say never. You know me, top 4 Champions League. I mean, look, I've said it all right, and there's even a song about me now. So
Where's the Champions League final next year, Barry? You booked the flights already? Booked the hotel?
We don't need to. It's at Wembley. So
oh, is it?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. So we don't actually need hotels for next season. But yeah, look, it's been a strange season. You've seen Aston Villa. They've won 6 in 7, and they've climbed the way up the table. I think look, there's also some really interesting games. Newcastle go to Villa at 12:30. If they slip up, we then go and play before United play. We could then get the upper hand. United could drop points, and then again it could be all to play for. So this is where where the all of our games and pretty much all of the other teams' games. There's something to fight for at the top and the bottom. There's nothing games anymore towards the end of the season.
Question is, Barry, it's not. I don't even know. The question is whether United will crumble or not. It's whether Spurs can take advantage of it, isn't it? Yeah. And obviously tomorrow we have to get 3 points tomorrow to make sure we do that. But even if we do win tomorrow, do you reckon we have it in us to really go the distance and snatch that 4th place off them?
It's going to be all about momentum. We saw what happened last season. I mean, whatever we were, we've got to be pretty much similar where we were at this stage last season. There or thereabouts. And we saw kind of what happened with Arsenal bottling it. It'd be interesting to see what happens after their reaction with the Liverpool game. But I think, I mean, look, we know we've had a week to prepare. Obviously, some positive news in the fact that you've seen Bentancur back in his rehab. Obviously, Emerson's back from Brazil. So he's there, obviously getting treatment and everything else. So look, there are some positives. I just don't know. I think it all depends on. It does all depend on that on the next 4 games, but then that running into May, it all depends on where those other teams are. If Crystal Palace are safe, they might be on the beach. Leeds might be already relegated, so it won't matter. So it's interesting times. I think at the top and the bottom, it will be shaped by the end of April. We're going to have more of an idea, but you never know. You never know with this football club. You never know with this football team whether they're going to really show up. I mean, look, tomorrow we all want everyone to turn up, show up, put a dominant performance in, and make a real statement. And maybe we'll do that because Mason's there, and we know, when Mason's been there in the past, he has tended to go a little bit more attacking. He has changed things. Obviously, we saw Danjuma last week, so it's miracles may happen, right? But it's going to be a nervy afternoon. I think the atmosphere at the ground is going to be very interesting. Obviously, there's the protests beforehand, and it'll just be interesting to see how everyone's how the kind of mood is, because I think we're kind of maybe as fans maybe not expecting anything anymore, so maybe that takes the pressure off.
Yeah, I think so. But in terms of selection, there might be a bit of a selection headache this weekend because we haven't had one in the last couple of weeks. But Richarlison could potentially be back. Danjuma, chomping at the bit to play, and he's coming up against his former club this weekend. So is there a chance for either of them to start, both of them to start?
I mean, realistically, I don't think so. I think the only chance would be obviously one of them replacing Kulusevski, but Kulusevski's been better the last few weeks. He hasn't been anywhere the Kulusevski of this time last year. But obviously, Son scoring, Kane scoring. I don't think there's going to be any changes from what we've seen the last couple of weeks. I mean, some of it because we don't have anyone there. But I'd be very surprised if Danjuma or Richarlison start tomorrow, because I just think that there's just nothing. I mean, look, if something happens or one of them doesn't get through training or what have you, that's really the only chance that one of them's starting. I'd be very unless we do what we did against Leicester and Kulusevski's on the bench and comes on the 60th minute and changes the game. Maybe that's an option, but you know, Richarlison, I think we've all seen that he doesn't play well on that right hand side, and also it's not Danjuma's side either. So it's again going back to where we were at the start of the season with square pegs and round holes, and I just think that and you know, I don't think the formation is going to change, so it's not going to make much of a difference. So unless you have a crazy thing where Danjuma plays, I don't know. Well, I just don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening.
Fair enough, Barry. What's your score prediction?
I'm going to go with you, Ben. 2-1. I think it's going to be nervy. I think we'll probably go 1-0 up, then 2-0 up, and then Bournemouth will get a goal. There'll be 10 or 15 minutes left, and it'll be nervy like Southampton and Everton, where we're kind of clinging on. So I think that's where it's going to go tomorrow. But 3 points are a must. Look, I think we could all argue that we weren't expecting the win at Brighton, so now we need to take advantage of that. Get the win at Bournemouth, 6 points from 6. You know, even Pedro Porro's been bought into this 8 cup finals left malarkey that everyone's talking about, right? He's only been there a few weeks.
Barry Hartley won a cup final last week.
Has it ever gone well whenever anyone has described any Spurs fixtures as a cup final? Has it ever ended well?
Well, 1901, 1961.
No, I'm saying games that aren't a cup final.
I'm sure they said that last season, that every game's a cup final towards the end of the season.
Can't remember them saying it.
Yeah, I mean, look, last season, yeah. I mean, I think at this stage, I think we need to stop that tag, because obviously we know what's happened when we've been in finals in the last few years.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
We just need to. Maybe we should say it's a semi-final or a quarter-final. It's
a third round. It's we got 8 third rounds left.
Yeah, don't say it's the 5th round, because you know we're definitely getting But look, I think you're right. Who would have thought at the start of the season we go on the best start for 23 years? Everything's rosy. You know, we qualify from our Champions League group, and then it kind of just goes to where it's gone.
Unravels.
It's just unraveled. And look, I think we kind of need to do what we did last year, finish strong. If we win all our games, which will be an absolute miracle, because I can't see. I mean, KPV was saying we got good result. We got good results against Newcastle. We have, but Newcastle were certainly not the Newcastle of that. I remember going there the last day of the season and getting slapped up 5-1. And you know, it could be something similar. Man United, you never know what Man United are going to turn up. If it's Harry Maguire heading it in, then that'll be the Man United that we want to turn up. But you know what will happen? Rashford will be back. It'll be like what Ronaldo did. You know, he'll run the show like he did a couple of years ago. Obviously, when Nuno got sacked soon after, and then Liverpool, yeah, if they turn up in that second half like they turned up in the first and second half, like they turned up in the second half against Arsenal, then again it could be a really uncomfortable afternoon. But you never know. It's fine margins. We need to stay positive, and we need to see what we can do, and that's all we can do. Get to the end of the season. We may then have a manager by then. We may have some new players, or we may have the players coming back that everyone doesn't necessarily want back that are out on loan. But you know, it's going to be an interesting summer. Let's just put it that way.
Definitely,
Barry. Look forward to seeing you on the watch along tomorrow, my friend, and have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, and you guys, big up. See you tomorrow, Ben.
Come on. And that was Barry. Is there anyone else? All right, so I guess we'll leave it there for today. But thank you, everyone, for joining in today. We'll see you all later on for the predicted lineup. Watch out for the press conference as it's coming your way very soon as well. But like I just said, me and Barry will be here on the watch along for you guys, and Sim will be inside the stadium with Grandpa tomorrow, getting all the bits and pieces from our 3 points tomorrow. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
Come on, you Spurs.
Spurs.